You. Yeah, you. You thought Splatoon weapons would be simple, didn't you? Boy, are you wrong. Welcome back, everybody. Today is going to be my part 2 to my beginner's guide series. Today we're focusing on weapons. More specifically, we'll be talking about main weapons. First up are your shooters. These are weapons that you generally press and hold the ZR button to fire. These weapons are generally considered slayers and supporters. Only backliner class in this family is the Jet Squelcher. These weapons are usually used for inking turf and slaying enemies. The only exception to the press and hold ZR to fire logic is the L3 Nozzle Nose. The Nozzle Nose is a semi-automatic weapon that fires a burst of projectiles. In order to keep shooting a steady stream of projectiles, you must get into a rhythm of shooting and not shooting. Next up are the rollers. These act pretty much like real life. You can roll ink on the ground with them, and you can fling ink in both vertical and horizontal swings. These weapons vary in swing speed and power, but for the most part they act the same. The next class of weapon is Charger. These weapons are always backliners, as they can only shoot one shot at a time, but will deal 100 damage when hit. Most of these weapons can also hold a charge for a short amount of time while swimming in ink. One variant of the Charger is the Charger Scopes. These cannot hold a charge in ink and will zoom in when shooting. Next up is the Bamboozler. This is a Charger that has fixed range and takes 2 hits to kill. Next up is the Gootuber. This weapon can hold its charge in ink for abnormally longer than the rest of the Chargers. Next up is the Slosher. These are buckets that slosh forth ink, and, well, there's really nothing more to these. One variant of the Slosher is called the Tri-Slosher. This has a wider ink spread, but the center spread will give you the most damage. Next variant is called a Sloshing Machine. This will shoot an arc of ink drill thingy over your head and do 75 damage-ish upon hitting. I've heard of some YouTubers making this weapon completely broken. I'll leave that video down in the description below. Next up is the Explosher. These will go straight through enemies, but will explode upon hitting a solid surface. Not great. It'll just go right through those. Next up is probably one of the greatest weapons of all time, the Bloblobber. The Bloblobber shoots forth 4 bubbles. If all 4 hit, it is a one-shot KO. Bloblobber bubbles will also bounce off of walls once or twice. Use this to get at people you can't hit otherwise. Next class of weapon is the Splatling. Splatlings charge up shots that can then be released to release a volley of... Splatlings cannot hold a charge while swimming in ink. Just remember that. The first Splatling that is really any different from the original Splatling is the Ballpoint Splatling. This one has 2 modes. The first mode is good for close range combat, while the second mode is good for long range sniping. The next Splatling variant is the Nautilus. This is one unique Splatling in that it can hold a charge in ink, and is the only Splatling that can do so. Just take note that this Splatling has much shorter range than the others. The next class is the Dualies. The Dualies are like the shooters in that you can press and hold ZR for as long as you want and they will continue shooting until you run out of ink. However, they have 2 reticules, meaning you can shoot 2 different spots at once. The Dualie rolls, which are activated by pressing B while pressing the left stick in a certain direction, will allow you to combine the reticules and move in a quick fashion. The first Dualie variant are the Dualie Squelchers. These are very long-range dualies and very precise. However, they also give you a very, very long dodge roll. Our next dualie variant are the Tetras. These are like the dualies, except they give you 4 dodge rolls, and the dodge rolls reset very quickly. The next class are the Brellas. These are oddly enough inspired by real life. Brellas shoot out a burst of ink forward, and when ZR is held, the Brella part will open up. This is able to block ink from opponents up to a certain point. Hold ZR long enough and the Brella part will be deployed forward. The first Brella variant is the Tentabrella. It is one of the weapons that I have affectionately named the Grandfather weapon. These include the Dynamo Roller, Hydra Splatling, E-Leader, and the Tentabrella. These all have one thing in common. They use a lot of ink really fast. The Tentabrella also has a really wide shield that can take a lot of damage. Next up is the Undercover Brella. This is like the regular Brella, except when you press and hold ZR, the shield does not deploy. This weapon is a great option for getting right up in other players' faces. Next class is the Blaster. Okay, this one is pretty simple. It's the poor man's sniper. Even if you can't aim, you can use this. This is because when the projectile reaches the end of its range, it will explode. If you hit them with an indirect, it will do less damage than a direct, but you can still kill with it. The only majorly different blaster is the Clash Blaster, which shoots insanely fast and has insanely short range. The next class is brushes. These are just like rollers in that they allow you to push forward. However, they leave a much smaller trail behind them and only have one flick option. The next class of weapon is the brand new Stringer. These are another charger type weapon that shoot 3 shots, and the Tri-Stringer will shoot 3 explosive shots when fully charged. Jump to shoot in a vertical direction. The only other variant of the Tri-Stringer is the Reflux Stringer. This is basically the same as the regular Stringer, except it doesn't shoot the explosive shots when fully charged. The final class is Splatana. These weapons are sword-like and shoot out waves of ink. You can press and hold the ZR button to charge up a shot that will go vertically and have a bigger, wider reach. Currently, the only variant of the Splatana is the Splatana Stamper, which is basically just a more powerful version of the Splatana. I don't know why they didn't give Ultra Stamp to the Splatana Stamper. Makes no sense, but whatever. That's all for today, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and tell me what you'd like to see in the next video in the comments below.